Awareness is basically the moment you catch yourself acting like your own brain's slightly unhinged roommate, the one who barges in at 3 a.m. with wild ideas like, what if everyone secretly hates you? Or, let's relive that embarrassing moment from 5th grade. Becoming aware means stepping back, folding your arms, and saying, okay, buddy, I see what you're doing. And yes, it sounds simple, but this tiny shift is like switching on the lights in a room you've been stumbling around in for years. Suddenly, you recognize the furniture you keep tripping over, your patterns, your triggers, your greatest hits of mental nonsense. And once you can see them, you can stop smashing your shins into them every single day. When you observe your thoughts objectively, like a calm referee watching two over-caffeinated teams argue over the same ball, you create a little space between something happens and I freak out. And that space, even if it's just the size of a potato chip, is the beginning of control. Because let's be honest, half the time our minds act like dramatic toddlers who missed their nap. They spill negativity everywhere, cry about it, and then blame us for the mess. But awareness lets you interrupt the mid-tantrum. You get to say, nope, we're not doing that today. Put down the imaginary problems and back away slowly. Think of your mind like a TV that's been playing the same reruns forever. Some episodes were filmed in childhood, some in high school, and some were probably improvised during stressful Mondays. Awareness gives you the remote control. You're no longer stuck watching Anxiety Season 492 or What If Everything Goes Wrong Special Extended Edition. Instead, you look at the screen and think, wow, that's dramatic, but I don't actually have to watch this. That's the moment the whole game changes. You start noticing your patterns, the way your brain jumps to the worst-case scenario faster than a teenager jumps to conclusions, the way it replays conversations like it's trying to win an Oscar for best overthinking performance, the way one little inconvenience can send it spiraling like a reality TV contestant who didn't get their iced latte. And the second you see these habits, they lose some of their power. You're no longer inside them drowning in the drama, you're outside watching it with popcorn like, wow, my mind is really doing the most right now. The key is remembering that thoughts are not laws and they're not prophecies. They're more like weather forecasts, sometimes accurate, sometimes dramatic, sometimes pulled straight out of nowhere. And just like the weather, you don't scream at the sky when it rains, you grab an umbrella. Awareness is your umbrella. It doesn't stop the thoughts from coming, but it stops you from getting completely soaked in negativity every time your mind decides to drizzle some doom. And the more you practice watching your thoughts without immediately believing them, the easier it gets. You start catching yourself earlier and earlier. Maybe at first you only notice after you've spiraled for 45 minutes and emotionally moved to a desert island. Then, after some practice, you catch the negativity 10 minutes in, then 5, then right at the start like, there you are, weird intrusive thought about something that hasn't even happened, cute, goodbye. Little by little, you build mental muscles, the kind that lets you stand there calmly while your brain tries to convince you that your whole life will collapse because you sent an email with a typo. Awareness doesn't mean you stop thinking or stop feeling. It means you learn to recognize when your brain is slipping into its usual routines, catastrophizing, worrying, replaying, inventing drama out of dust particles, and you interrupt it like a teacher walking into a classroom full of kids trying to tape someone to a chair. You pause, you breathe, you say, is this actually helpful? And if it's not, you redirect. Sometimes you'll talk to your mind like it's a dog chasing a squirrel. Nope, come back, focus. Other times you'll have to be firm like, we are not starting an existential crisis while waiting in line at Target. But the more you do it, the more your brain learns that you're the one driving the car, not the anxious little gremlin in the backseat shouting directions based on vibes. And here's the best part. Once you get the hang of observing your thoughts, you start noticing positive things too. The moments you're proud, calm, growing, improving. You're no longer just reacting to life, you're actively steering it. You start catching yourself doing well. You realize, hey, I handled that better, or wow, old me would have panicked, but I didn't. Awareness isn't just about stopping negativity, it's about recognizing your progress, your strength, your growth. It turns your mind from a chaotic carnival into something you can navigate without tripping over clouds and confetti. You become the person who sees the storm clouds forming and says, all right, I know what to do, instead of sprinting in circles screaming, we're all gonna die. So yeah, Awareness is the first step to control, not because it magically fixes everything, but because it hands you the keys to your own mental machinery. It stops you from being dragged around by every random thought like a leaf in the wind. It doesn't make life perfect, but it does make it manageable. You become the one who decides what thoughts get your attention and what thoughts get tossed in the mental recycling bin. And once you learn to interrupt negativity before it takes over, your whole inner world starts running smoother. You breathe easier, you think clearer, you laugh more. And maybe, just maybe, your mind stops acting like a tiny emotional tornado and starts becoming something you can actually work with. Your mind is basically that one friend who believes anything you tell them, even if it's completely ridiculous. Like if you said, "Hey, I saw Bigfoot at Costco," and they just nod like, "Yeah, that tracks." Your brain doesn't filter things the way you think it does. It doesn't pause, squint at your thoughts and go, that sounds a little dramatic, don't you think? Nope. It just takes whatever you repeat and starts building a whole personality around it. So if you constantly tell yourself, "I'm a disaster," your mind is like, "Say no more, boss," and suddenly it's rearranging all your mental furniture to help you live out that identity. But if you repeatedly feed it things like, "I'm capable," "I'm growing," or "I can learn this," it starts acting like your personal hype man, adjusting its vibes accordingly. Honestly, your mind is like a sponge with terrible boundaries. It absorbs whatever you soak it in. Affirmations and gratitude journaling aren't just Pinterest-level cute activities. They're basically brain programming. And yes, it feels weird at first, like you're trying to sweet-talk yourself into becoming a better human, but trust me, your brain eats that stuff up like it's the last slice of pizza. Think of affirmations as the mental equivalent of giving your brain directions, so it stops wandering off into dark alleys full of "you're not good enough" and "everything is doomed." When you say something on purpose over and over, your brain starts taking it seriously. It's like training a puppy. At first, it looks at you like, "What exactly do you want from me?" But after enough repetition, it's like, "Oh, sit, got it. Confidence, got it. Self-worth, on it." You're literally rewiring neural pathways, which is just a fancy neuroscience way of saying you're teaching your brain to chill out and stop sabotaging you. And the funniest part? Your brain doesn't even care if you fully believe your affirmations yet. If you say it enough, it eventually goes, "Okay, I guess we're doing this now," and starts acting accordingly. It's kind of like telling yourself you're a morning person until one day you wake up without wanting to uppercut your alarm clock. Mind games, but the wholesome kind. And gratitude journaling? Oh man, that's like handing your brain a pair of glasses that make everything look a little less "the world is burning" and a little more, "Okay, maybe life isn't out to personally ruin me." When you consistently write down things you're grateful for, even the tiny stuff like, "My coffee didn't taste like sadness today," your mind starts scanning for more positive things automatically. It literally trains your focus. It's like upgrading your brain's search engine so it stops typing in "worst-case scenario" and starts searching for "things that didn't suck today." Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring the hard things. It means refusing to let your brain fixate on them like they're the only items on the menu. You're telling your mind, "Hey, I know you love drama, but could you also notice when something good happens, please?" And slowly, it learns. It stops catastrophizing every minor inconvenience and starts recognizing the small wins that used to zip past unnoticed. The thing is, your brain loves patterns. It's obsessed with them. If you repeatedly think something, your mind assumes it must matter. Kind of like when you repeat a song so many times it becomes your entire personality for a week. Your mind goes, "Oh, you keep talking about how stressed you are? Cool, let me amplify that." Or, "You keep pointing out things you appreciate? Awesome, I'll show you more of those." Affirmations and gratitude journaling basically hack this natural tendency. They flip your brain from doom scroll mode to something a little more functional and a lot more peaceful. It's not magic, it's wiring. Repetition carves grooves in your mind, and the more you run your thoughts through those grooves, the deeper they get. Before you know it, your brain is cruising down the "I'm improving" lane instead of the "everything is terrible and I'm a potato" lane. What makes this whole thing hilarious is how stubborn the mind can be at first. The moment you try an affirmation, your brain is like, "Pfft, okay, calm down, Oprah," because it's so used to your old messaging. But that's normal. If you've been telling yourself negative stuff for years, your mind is basically a grumpy old man yelling, "Get off my lawn," when you try something new. Keep repeating it anyway. Eventually, that grumpy old man gets tired of complaining and starts watering the lawn instead. Same with gratitude. At first, your mind will be like, "Ugh, fine, I guess I'm grateful for socks." But then a few weeks later, it's like, "Hold on, the sunset was actually kind of nice today." Or, "Damn, someone held the door open for me, what a legend." And you realize you've accidentally become a more content person without even trying that hard. The best part, when you repeatedly practice positive focus, life doesn't magically get easier. You get stronger. Your mind becomes less reactive, less dramatic, less "let me create a crisis just to feel something." It gets steadier, clearer. You start catching yourself handling stressful moments with this surprising maturity, like, who is this calm person and when did they move into my brain? That's the power of repetition. That's the power of directing your thoughts instead of letting them run wild like raccoons in a dumpster. Every affirmation is like placing one brick. Every gratitude entry is another. Over time, you build a whole internal home, one that doesn't collapse every time a negative thought kicks the door. So if you ever feel silly telling yourself positive things or journaling like you're writing a love letter to the universe, just remember, your brain is already believing something on repeat. Might as well choose thoughts that help you grow instead of ones that drag you down. Feed your mind better stories. Give it healthier scripts. Repeat what you want to believe, even if you're not there yet. Because eventually, your brain catches on, and when it does, you start living from a place that feels lighter, steadier, and a whole lot more "I've got this," even on the days when life is basically throwing a tantrum. That's the magic of repetition. Your mind follows the message you feed it. So choose the ones that lead you somewhere you actually want to go. Visualization is basically the secret life hack everyone knows works, but still feels a little goofy doing. Like talking to plants or reading the microwave instructions even though you already know how to heat leftovers. It's the practice of imagining the outcome you want so clearly that your brain starts acting like it already happened. And honestly, your brain is so dramatic and impressionable that it believes whatever movie you play inside your head. Picture yourself succeeding over and over, and your mind starts going, "Okay, noted, we're the kind of person who does that now." It's not magic, it's mental rehearsal. Top athletes do it, entrepreneurs do it, astronauts do it, and at this point probably even squirrels do it before they leap from one tree branch to another. It's like running a simulation in your head so your body knows exactly how to show up when it's time to do the real thing. You're training your emotions and actions ahead of time, like preheating an oven so the food cooks right instead of just sticking cold dough into a cold box and hoping for the best. Your brain legit doesn't know the difference between something you vividly imagined and something that actually happened. That's why you can dream about falling and wake up feeling like you almost died. Or imagine texting your crush and suddenly feel sweaty even though you haven't typed a single letter. This same weird, wonderful brain glitch works in your favor when you visualize success. When an athlete pictures themselves crossing the finish line, their muscles actually engage, their heart rate changes, their brain circuits fire like they're doing it for real. And when you imagine yourself giving a killer presentation, having a productive day, or handling a challenge like a calm, collected adult instead of a caffeinated squirrel, your brain starts building the emotional blueprint for that moment. You're teaching yourself in advance, hey, when this happens, this is how we're going to feel, act, and respond. Visualization is like giving your future self a cheat sheet. You're basically whispering to your mind, this is how it's supposed to go. Take notes. And don't think visualization is just for people who run marathons or build million-dollar companies. You can use it for everyday life stuff too. And honestly, that's where it gets hilarious. Visualize yourself waking up without hitting snooze 12 times. Visualize showing up to the gym like a motivated adult instead of spiritually negotiating with your workout shoes. Visualize answering emails like you're in charge instead of staring at the screen wondering why your job requires so much communication. When you run the scene in your mind first, your brain goes, ah, yes, I've been here before, and suddenly the real-life version feels a little easier. It's like tricking yourself into being more competent. And trust me, your brain loves being tricked. It falls for this stuff instantly. Entrepreneurs use visualization constantly, and they don't even hide it. They imagine deals closing, ideas working, hard days ending well, and goals already achieved. They mentally rehearse success the way some people rehearse comebacks in the shower. And here's the fun part. When you picture something repeatedly, your brain starts scanning for ways to make it real. You begin noticing opportunities you were blind to before. Your behavior shifts, your confidence grows. You start acting like someone who can actually do the thing instead of someone who's just hoping life will magically cooperate for once. Visualization aligns your emotions and actions, which is a fancy way of saying it stops you from panicking, procrastinating, or spiraling when it's time to show up. You've already faced it mentally, so when it arrives physically, you're like, oh, this? Yeah, I know this level. It's the same reason pro athletes spend hours visualizing themselves performing at their best. Before they even step on the field, they've already played the game 100 times in their heads. They've rehearsed the moves, the feelings, the energy, the outcome. They're not just practicing muscles, they're practicing confidence. Because let's be honest, half of success is showing up like you belong there, and visualization trains that. It builds the emotional state required for your actions to line up with your goals. You can't perform like a champion while thinking like someone who's already accepted defeat. Visualization bridges that gap. It convinces your brain to feel like a winner before you even get started. Now, let's be real. Your brain already visualizes, just usually the wrong stuff. It's out here rehearsing worst-case scenarios like it's auditioning for a disaster movie. You imagine failing, embarrassing yourself, running out of time, saying the wrong thing, getting ghosted, getting fired, tripping in public, or the world randomly collapsing because you forgot to charge your phone. Your mind is an Oscar-level director of imaginary catastrophes. Visualization is simply telling your brain, hey, instead of creating dramatic flops, how about we make a wholesome blockbuster for once? It's redirecting the mental energy you're already spending, but towards something that actually helps your life instead of bulldozing your confidence. When you visualize success regularly, something cool happens. Your emotions start shifting automatically. You feel calmer in stressful situations. You feel more prepared. You don't crumble every time life throws a plot twist. The emotional rehearsal gives you a cushion, a sense of, I've done this before, even when you technically haven't. And because your emotions are steadier, your actions improve. You think clearer. You make better decisions. You react with intention instead of panic. Your behavior aligns with the future you've rehearsed, and the gap between who you are and who you want to be starts shrinking faster than you expect. Think of visualization like a mental gym. You're training your future wins long before they show up. You're building the muscle of belief, the muscle of focus, the muscle of calm execution. And yeah, it might feel silly sitting there imagining yourself succeeding, especially when real life feels messy and chaotic. But remember, every person you admire does this. Every top performer, every confident leader, every calm, collected person you secretly envy who seems to just handle things, they're not magically blessed, they're rehearsed. And you can rehearse too. So go ahead, close your eyes, picture what you want, play the scene like a movie, make it vivid, feel it. Believe it enough times, and eventually your brain starts guiding you straight towards it, not out of luck, but because it was trained to do so. Visualization doesn't guarantee success, but it puts you in the emotional and mental shape to create it. And if you're going to daydream anyway, you might as well daydream yourself into a version of life that feels a whole lot better than whatever disaster reruns your mind usually loves to play.
Mindfulness is basically the art of not letting your emotions hijack your entire life, like a toddler stealing the TV remote. It's the practice of noticing what's going on inside you before your brain sprints off the deep end screaming, "We're all doomed!" Regular meditation is like giving your mind a chill pill, except a legal, healthy one that doesn't require a prescription. When you meditate consistently, you're training your brain the same way you'd train an overly dramatic dog. Sit, stay, stop barking at every random noise. Eventually, your brain starts listening. The wild reactions slow down. The constant mental fireworks quiet a little. And suddenly, instead of melting down because someone cut you off in traffic or your Wi-Fi is being disrespectful again, you find yourself thinking, okay, I can handle this. like you're some calm monk who mysteriously shops at Target. Your brain is not fixed or frozen in time. It's rewiring itself every day, literally changing its structure based on what you repeatedly do. When you stress out constantly, your brain gets really good at freaking out. It builds express lanes straight to panic. But when you practice mindfulness, even for a few minutes a day, you're carving new pathways, ones that lead to calmness, clarity, and let's think this through before I emotionally combust. Meditation strengthens the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, the prefrontal cortex, aka the responsible adult of your mind, and quiets the amygdala, your inner drama queen that thinks every inconvenience is a life or death situation. It's like upgrading your brain from a squeaky old roller coaster to something smooth, stable, and way less likely to fling you into emotional chaos. And the benefits sneak up on you. One day you're meditating feeling like a confused potato, wondering if you're supposed to clear your mind or become one with the universe. Then, a few weeks later, you're standing in line at the grocery store behind someone who's moving slower than the DMV, and instead of imagining yourself flipping the whole place upside down, you just breathe. You wait. You don't internally combust. You don't fantasize about throwing their groceries into another aisle. You're calm. You're patient. You're like, that's new. That's mindfulness doing its quiet magic. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. It's just slowly rewiring your emotional reactions until you can handle things without losing your mind every 5 minutes. Meditation is basically brain gym. Every time you sit down, focus on your breath, and bring your attention back when it wanders, it's like doing a mental push-up. And just like physical training, the reps build consistency, the consistency builds strength, and the strength shows up when you least expect it. You won't suddenly float out of your body or start speaking in ancient wisdom, but you will start making better decisions when you're stressed. You'll pause before sending that angry text. You'll think before yelling at someone. You'll breathe before making that impulse purchase you'll regret in 48 hours. Meditation teaches you that tiny gap between something happens and I react. That gap, that's freedom. That's emotional control. That's where sanity lives. Under pressure, mindfulness becomes your secret superpower. While everyone else is panicking, yelling, overreacting, or spiraling into worst-case scenarios, you're the one who stays grounded. You think clearly. You respond intentionally. You don't crumble like a stale cookie. That calmness isn't luck. It's training. Meditation literally strengthens your ability to stay collected when life hits you with unexpected nonsense, which, let's be honest, is basically life's favorite hobby. Whether it's a tough conversation, a high-stakes moment, a deadline, or a crisis, your brain responds with, all right, breathe. What's the move? Instead of, everything's on fire. The best part is, you don't have to meditate perfectly or for an hour every day. You don't need a fancy cushion, Himalayan singing bowls, or a spiritual guru named Moonbeam guiding you through the cosmos. You just need a few minutes of being present, noticing your breath, your thoughts, your body. And even if your mind wanders 1,000 times, that's still training. Every time you bring your focus back, you're teaching your brain, we don't chase every thought. We don't react to every emotion. We can choose. That's emotional control in its purest form. The ability to choose your response instead of being dragged around by whatever your brain decides to panic about today. Mindfulness also helps you understand your emotions instead of fighting them like they're some kind of enemy. You start noticing, oh, I'm irritated, or oh, I'm anxious, without spiraling into a full emotional meltdown. You become curious instead of reactive. And when you understand your emotions, you can work with them instead of being steamrolled by them. Your stress response becomes more like a helpful signal and less like a fire alarm that goes off whenever someone breathes near you. Meditation lowers cortisol, increases emotional regulation, boosts clarity, and sharpens your ability to navigate situations with actual presence instead of autopilot panic. Honestly, mindfulness gives you back control of your inner world, and once the inside is calmer, the outside feels less overwhelming. You stop being at the mercy of bad days, annoying people, and unpredictable circumstances. Your emotional resilience grows. Your decision-making improves. You become grounded, steady, and capable in ways you never realized you could be. And the funniest part? The world doesn't magically get easier. Your Wi-Fi will still be rude, traffic will still be a disaster, people will still try your patience, but you change. Your brain changes. Your emotional response changes. And suddenly life feels less like a chaotic roller coaster and more like a ride you can actually control. So yeah, mindfulness isn't just sitting still and breathing. It's training your brain to stop flipping tables every time something doesn't go your way. It's teaching your emotions that you are the one in charge. It's rewiring your stress response so you can perform under pressure without turning into a human pressure cooker. And with regular practice, you don't just manage life better, you live it better, calmer, clearer, and with way fewer emotional explosions.
Discipline is basically the grown-up version of motivation, the thing we wish we had, the thing we think other people magically wake up with, and the thing we dramatically lose the moment our alarm clock goes off. Motivation is cute, don't get me wrong. It's that boost of energy you get after watching an inspirational video or hearing a speech that sounds like it was written by someone who definitely drinks protein shakes at 4 a.m. But motivation is also flaky. It's like a friend who hypes you up to go to the gym and then cancels last minute because their cat looked at them funny. Motivation shows up when you're already in a good mood, well-rested, caffeinated, and life is going perfectly. Discipline? Oh, discipline shows up when you're tired, annoyed, stressed, grumpy, or emotionally allergic to productivity. Discipline doesn't care if you're in the mood. It doesn't care if your energy levels are tragic. It just says, yeah, feelings, whatever. Do it anyway. And that's why discipline always wins. Motivation is emotional, which means it disappears the second your emotions change. One bad day, one inconvenient problem, one unexpected curveball, and boom, motivation packs its bags and leaves. That's why relying on it is like trying to power your life with lightning strikes. When it hits, it's amazing, but you can't plan your day around it. Discipline is different. Discipline is boring, steady, unglamorous, and incredibly powerful. It's the part of you that brushes your teeth even when you don't feel like it, goes to work even when you'd rather live under a blanket forever, and shows up for your goals even when you'd prefer to scroll on your phone until your thumbs fall off. Discipline is the real MVP because it removes choice. It says, this is what we're doing today, and your brain just goes along for the ride. Success isn't built on random bursts of motivation, it's built on habits, the small, consistent actions you repeat even when your mood is trash. The routines you commit to become your autopilot, and autopilot is stronger than any emotion. When you build habits, you don't have to negotiate with yourself every day. You don't have to decide whether you're in the mood to be productive. You just do the thing. And honestly, that's the closest thing we have to a superpower. Imagine how much easier life gets when you stop debating your goals every single morning. No more should I, or maybe later, or I'll start Monday. Spoiler, you won't. Discipline eliminates the drama. You become a person who does what they said they'd do, even if you don't feel like it in the moment. Think about people who achieve amazing things. Athletes, creators, business owners. That one coworker who somehow wakes up at 5 a.m. on purpose. They're not superhumans. They don't wake up bursting with motivation every day. They just create routines that support the outcome they want. They commit to the process even when their mood is somewhere between I need a nap and why is life like this? The secret isn't feeling inspired, it's showing up over and over on good days and terrible days, when the weather is nice and when it's aggressively rude, when you're pumped and when you're mentally done with everyone and everything. Discipline is the ability to act despite your feelings, and when you master that, your life changes. And here's the funny part. When you rely on discipline, motivation actually starts showing up more often. Once you build habits, once your life has some structure, once your brain realizes you're serious about your goals, motivation suddenly wants to be involved. It's like that friend who only wants to hang out once you've already made cool plans. When you consistently do the work, you create momentum, and momentum attracts motivation. But the key is doing the work before you feel like doing it, not after. Commitment is everything. When you commit to routines that support your goals, you're essentially telling your life, hey, I'm in charge now, instead of letting your moods run the show like chaotic toddlers. You don't need to feel inspired to act, you just need to follow the system you built. And that's the thing about discipline. It respects systems, not vibes. If you wait for motivation, you'll be waiting with wrinkles. If you build discipline, you'll start stacking small wins that turn into big ones. A lot of people think discipline feels like punishment, but actually it's freedom. When you develop habits, you free yourself from procrastination. You free yourself from guilt. You free yourself from that awful cycle where you promise yourself you'll do better tomorrow, only to repeat the same nonsense again. Discipline is what turns goals into reality. It's what makes long-term success possible. It's what separates people who talk about improving their lives from people who actually do. Discipline isn't harsh, it's helpful. It says, hey, let's make life easier by handling the hard stuff now. And the truth is, discipline doesn't require you to be perfect. You don't need military-level routines or 5 a.m. workouts or a color-coded planner with inspirational stickers. You just need consistency. You need to show up more often than you don't. You need to choose progress over excuses a little more each week. You need to create habits that make success automatic. A morning routine that sets you upright, a nightly routine that keeps you sane, a work routine that keeps you focused, a health routine that keeps you functioning like a human instead of a stressed-out raccoon. The magic happens in the small, repeated actions. Drink the water, take the walk, do the workout, do the studying, make the call, write the page, eat the vegetables, sleep like an adult who knows better. None of these things feel life-changing in the moment, but stacked together, they build a life that looks intentional instead of accidental. So yeah, motivation is fun when it shows up. It's hype, it's energy, it's fireworks. But discipline is the boring hero that builds the life you want, brick by brick, even while you're yawning, complaining, or questioning all your decisions. Discipline doesn't care about your mood. It cares about your future. And when you commit to routines that support your goals, you stop depending on your feelings to get things done. You become reliable. You become steady. You become unstoppable, even on the days when you desperately want to stay in bed and do absolutely nothing. And that's when success becomes inevitable, not when you're motivated, but when you're disciplined.